Yeah, plus, so,
30 grand.
next week's supposed to be beautiful too.
Next week, what?
Next week's the same thing, 22, 20.
Really?
Yeah.
Hendricks.
Other months would be good.
You should have a drinks.
Didn't we have a nice fall last year? I thought we did.
No,
Or winter. Winter we did.
fall was terrible.
Like winter.
You see, this winter's been
The
no
winter
winter.
wasn't too bad yet.
Just go start by the
That's
start
what we
it.
want.
Sort of.
And this one.
I guess that shortens your season up a little bit.
What's that?
Shortens your season up, doesn't it?
Okay.
We're just gonna get started on our planning meeting. So were you here for one of the planning applications?
No, for the 1 meeting, that hearing.
For one hearing?
Yep.
Okay.
We used to sit,
I don't see any other participants yet.
I think.
Okay, we got Paul there.
No.
It's just- Our masks, even when you're sitting, this should be wearing his mask?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's when you come up to, or when you start speaking, you can remove it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Is that all already? So let's see.
Sorry.
So let's see, I got the screen share. working. Open your laptop, probably turn your speaker off before I let you in. Speaker and your microphone. Share is not working. Why is that one? Oh, do one more click here. For them to join and then I can.
Ricky Pack, you're gonna be one tech professional after this.
There's some benefits, right?
Yeah.
All of this.
There we go, council. First we leave council in. Let's see what the screen looks like. Is the meeting recording started already? No. Okay, There we go. Now we got council. We got the meeting. Okay, I'll start letting everyone in.
Sure, whoever is there can, if it's, I will hopefully be able to, you'll have to tell me who's there for which application, or I can ask because I have some friends here, so.
Okay, what happened there?
Wow.
I'll have the
As
screen
long as
closed.
you can see.
There's something in between here. So I'm gonna have to close one.
6:05, and I apologize for the short delay in getting the meeting started. Our planning items for this evening, we did have some technical difficulties, so I think we have everything ironed out now. We were here earlier today, and before we had our supper break, we did move in camera, so we did do some of our in-camera items. So now I will ask for a resolution to come out of camera before we start the planning issues for tonight.
Resolved that as per section 154 of the Municipal Act of Council, the Rural Municipality of St. Clements does now resume sitting a regular meeting.
Can I have a mover? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we do have a number of planning items that we are going to be dealing with this evening, and the first one we have is subdivision file S21-2910. Yes, Councillor Strang.
I'd like to declare conflict.
Thank you, and we will call you back when we're done with this item.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will now move into our public hearing on subdivision file S21-2910. If I could have the resolution for that, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor. Resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for S21 of 2910.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Horvis seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So with that, the first item we have is subdivision S21-2910, and I will hand it over to the planner to walk us through that application, please.
So would you like to take over, Pawan?
Yes, please, can you guys share screen?
Yeah, go ahead, share screen.
Thank you much. And is that on your end there?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can see it. Yeah.
Just going to start from the beginning here. Yes, the first item is subdivision application S21-2910, located on 550 Reback Road. This is to subdivide the subject property into 8 new proposed lots within the agricultural restricted zone, ranging from approximately 2 acres to 2.062 acres in size, as well as they're proposing to extend a road off of Ludwig Road. The subject property currently has frontage on Reback Road with the south property line along the Ludwig Road. The property currently is developed with a residence and a garage. It is within the agricultural restricted zone. It's currently 17 acres, and here's the applicant for a full subdivision application map, which shows a full public road extending from the Ludwig Road there. Currently, like I said, the property does have frontage to Reback Road, and it is zoned agricultural restricted. Within the development plan, the property is designated as agricultural restricted. Generally, lot size requirements in the agricultural restricted area is 4 acres. However, there are exceptions in section 4.2.111 in the development plan, which lists exceptions for smaller infill lots. Among these exceptions is a section that indicates proposed lots should be or may be indicated may be located between extension of existing grouping of non-farm residential lots and should not be separated from existing lots by no more than 100 meters. Council may want to note that directly to the west of the subject property, there are currently 2-acre lots along the Ludwig Road, and which is across the drain plan and approximately 50 meters away. Council and the RRPD board previously approved these lots, including this subject property as a residual in 2018 under subdivision application S182775. From a zoning bylaw perspective, the proposed lots would not meet the minimum site width. Would meet the minimum site width. However, would not meet the required site areas. So variances would be required for what is being proposed. From our circulation, comments received from Manager of Agriculture and Resource Development is expressing concerns with the minimum 2-acre lot sizes and has recommended that the applicant reduce the lot to meet the minimum 4 acres in the zoning. This information is brought forward to council's attention. Under policy 3.53 of the fisheries section of the development plan, there's a policy to protect riparian areas. In the past, council has taken areas along bodies of water which have ordinary high water marks. In this case, this is along a drain plan, and it is our understanding that this policy applies to natural bodies, not drain plans such as the drain plan along the west side of the property, drain plan number 7052. So we're not recommending any conditions associated with riparian areas. Comments from Manitoba Conservation and Climate from Senior Water Resource Officer Darren Nicklin's comments requested approvals and requirements would be needed from the department, including any engineered drainage plans from the provincial department. The applicant would be required to satisfy all approvals, and a condition has been noted for council's attention. From comments from Historic Resource Branch, they had indicated that they want to do a pre-impact assessment on the land, and if further requirements are needed, potentially a heritage resource impact assessment, the applicant will have to satisfy all approvals from their department, and a condition has been noted for council. Our administration has sent comments related to taxes, development levies, grading plans, a development agreement, and a copy of the plan of subdivision. And furthermore, comments received from our Public Works Department have indicated a couple of items for council attention. One, the proposed road right-of-way, which is extending off Ludwig Road, does not align with an existing road right-of-way, which is to the south of Ludwig Road. And so this Public Works has indicated may cause an unsafe intersection and improper traffic flow. In addition, Public Works has indicated the proposed right-of-way meets the minimum 80 feet requirement, however, it does not match the current 99-foot road right-of-way on the south of Ludwig Road. A condition has been noted that the applicant will revise the subdivision application map to align the proposed right-of-way to the satisfaction of the RMS St. Clements. And this has been noted in condition number 8 in our recommendations. A second comment from Public Works noted that the department is fine with the proposed right-of-way not having a cul-de-sac as presented. However, indicated the cul-de-sac must remain closed until further development north of the subdivision is underway. No resident can access the created cul-de-sac, which is going to be installed by the current or future developer. Public Works has indicated a road must be constructed by the developer to ensure the RM or future development north of the subject would have no expense and should be constructed to the north limit of the proposed subdivision. And it should be noted that these conditions are also within the development agreement dealing with road construction, and that is under condition number 2 within the council's approval recommendations. Aside from that, there were no other concerns from other provincial agencies. There are easement requirements from Manitoba Hydro and Shaw Communications, and these conditions have been noted for council's attention. Madam Mayor, at this point, if you want me to read the conditions, I can, or we can open it to the applicants and the member of the public.
I think go ahead and read the conditions, and then we'll open it up to the applicant and anyone else who wants to speak to this application.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Based on our analysis above and on a policy of the rationale that we explained, our office recommends that council may consider approval of the subdivision from the development plan policies in place. Should council wish to approve the application, our office recommends the following conditions be placed. Number 1, the applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the municipality stating that 1A, taxes of the land to be subdivided for the current year and any arrears have been paid. 1B, development levies and administrative fee to be paid as per bylaw 14-2009. 1C, a grading plan be prepared to indicate positive drainage on the proposed property completed by the developer to the satisfaction of the RM of St. Clements and to ensure that the proposed property does not drain onto or impede drainage from neighboring properties. And 1D, digital copy of the plan of subdivision be submitted to the RM of St. Clements. Condition number 2, applicant owner enters into a development agreement with the municipality to address items including but not limited to an easement road 128, so an engineered road and drainage plan and an easement plan if required. And 2B, a letter of credit be provided to the RM of St. Clements for drainage work and road construction. Condition number 3, applicant owner submits written confirmation from Manitoba Hydro that easement easement agreements has been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision and a plan of easement as required by the plan, by the Real Property Act has been provided. Registration of this agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval, and contact information for Hydro has been provided to the applicant. Number 4, applicant owner submits written confirmation from Shaw Communications Incorporated that an easement agreement has been entered into with Shaw Communications Incorporated with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision as required by the Real Property Act. Registration of this agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. Number 5, the applicant owner submits confirmation from Drainage and Water Rights Licensing Branch of Manitoba Conservation and Climate that the applicant has satisfied all requirements from that agency, which may include the approval of engineered drainage plan. For more information, please contact Darren Nicklin, Senior Water Resource Officer at darren.nicklin@gov.nb.ca or call 204-572-7265. Number 6, applicant owner submits written confirmation that approval from Manitoba Sports, Culture, and Heritage Historic Resource Branch has been acquired for the proposed subdivision as per the agency correspondence submitted on August 5th, 2021. For more information, please contact Reed Graham, Impact Assessment Archaeologist at reed.graham@gov.nb.ca or call 204-945-2118. And number 7, applicant owner obtains all required variances. Please note the applicant to verify site areas and dimensions or have this information submitted by the applicant's Manitoba Land Surveyor. And number 8, applicant owner to revise the subdivision application map for the alignment of the proposed road right of way to the satisfaction of the RMLC comments. And that is all I have to say.
Thank you for that, Pawan. Do any council members have questions of the planner at this point? Go ahead, Councilor
Just a
Basler.
statement, this impact assessment, like, we've dealt with this before, all along that drainage ditch, and it's ridiculous. Not only that, I believe they've already done a subdivision next to this one where they've already had to do this impact assessment, so I
Well,
still don't understand it.
well, I think if we let the applicant speak and perhaps if that is the case, that they may not be required to do another one. They may be allowed to use the one that they did if they already have one. So we'll wait and see what the applicant has to say. Councillor Spicer.
Oh, and I think number 6 is worded a little differently. It's not necessarily asking for an impact assessment. It's looking for a written confirmation. So if they've already done one, I would assume they should be able to just provide them with a copy again.
Okay, I'm just going to jump in here for a minute. I guess the applicant, Steve, are you having a hard time hearing us in the council chamber?
Mute.
Are you muted? Now you are. No, it looks like you're muted now, Steve, if you can hear me. And Deepak is just checking something here. It could be on our end.
Can you try again, Steve?
No, we still can't hear you.
Could we ask somebody else to speak that is not that is also connected? If we can ask.
Ed Huck.
Lucas, can you speak, please speak? I know that we're just trying something out here because Mr. Strang is having a hard time hearing us, and I'm wondering if you can hear us.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I think that's working now.
It's quite accurate.
Yeah, we'll fix that right away. Is your
Just
speaker,
bear with
oh,
us.
that's your speaker. How's that?
Try now, Steve.
Good evening, Mayor.
Yeah, we can hear you
Good
very well
evening,
now.
how are you?
Very good, thank you very much for asking. I hope everybody is well.
Okay, I'm having, start if you have anything to say, I'm not sure if you heard all of Colin's presentation or the questions that were asked, or not questions, comments from members of
I
council.
did not hear that presentation, Madam Mayor, but I can just speak directly. I had the opportunity to review the conditions that were brought forward, and I would just like to make a couple of comments on some of them. On condition number 2, regarding road construction, I do have some concerns. In the past, it's always been a policy of the municipality to those who are on the road frontages and give up road allowances for the people in the back to prosper. That was the normal, but I'm being asked here to pay to construct this road possibly, and we are seeing absolutely no benefit from that. And I'm quite concerned about that. It is a costly venture to build a road, and I'm hoping council would perhaps discuss that and give consideration to changing that request.
Okay, thank you for that. Council members, any comments on that particular item? Go ahead, Councillor Vazarowicz.
Well, I've lived in the area over 35 years, and
Just wait there, Glenn. Steve, can you hear what Glenn is saying?
I can, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Okay,
because I've lived in the area over 35 years, and that's why I asked earlier about the policy, how old it was. If you go down, let's just say Dining Road, for instance, there's Maker's Road there, next to Jerry Clement's place. It's road allowance, it was donated, and now Stamkin is gonna develop behind. There is no road in place. The same thing was with Novak Drive, there was no road in place until people built on it. And if you go up toward Ed Kuiper's place, there's a road allowance there as well, and nothing developed. And they're all over the south end. Even Steve, I believe, had a subdivision across the street from him, and we're dealing with a road allowance that's there right now that's undeveloped. Somebody wanted to buy it. So I don't know when this came about. That's why I was asking about how long that policy's been in place. I've never seen this before.
okay, well, I'm not sure how long that policy has been in place. I know at one time if you were giving up land for a road, you built the road, or you gave it up to the municipality. And I know, and I mean, we all know that there are numerous spots throughout the south end where there's pieces of undeveloped road allowance that are in the municipality's name because they were dedicated a number of years ago to the municipality. But if this is something that council wishes to look at, I have no problem with, you know, looking at it and seeing how we can accommodate so that the road doesn't have to be built, but it will be there for future use. Because if we don't have a public road there, everybody to the north then cannot do anything with
Well, I
their
have no
land.
problem with the land, it's just developing it.
Right, so.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Thank you very much. I just want to reflect back to the previous subdivision that we had approved by council. We had approved, we had gifted a road allowance between lot 10 and lot 11, which we did not have to develop. It was given in order to allow the people in the rear access. But we also gave up road allowance for lot 1 on the other side, and because lot 1 was behind the first lot off the road, we did develop it because we got benefit from it. And I think that I'm just like to bring that forward to council because I believe that's the point that should be brought forward is the fact that if you're in the area which you will benefit, you should pay for it. But if you're in an area where you will not benefit from it, you should still get it up, but you just don't have to construct it.
Okay, thank you for that. Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
I mean, that makes sense to me as well. I mean, that just from what Glenn was saying and just the way that was explained, I mean, I get that. I mean, it makes sense. That's
Okay, any other questions or comments from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Yeah, I'd be willing to take a look at some type of policy that would look after this type of situation in the future. So we actually have one to be
Right.
sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, a review done by administration, so then, you know, we know where we're going from now on, and we're consistent from now on.
Right. Okay, there are a couple of other names on my list. Oh,
That's, if I may, Madam Mayor, I just had a couple more. Sorry.
actually, Councillor Sutherland had something he wanted to say, and I'll come back to you, Steve.
No, I can just recall other subdivisions in the last 5-6 years where they had to give up for municipal right of way.
Right.
But I don't recall having to build a road, it was just running through there. That I can remember, yeah.
Okay, good.
So,
Thank you for that, Councillor Sutherland. Go ahead, Steve.
I apologize for interrupting, Madam Mayor, it's just a little difficult
That's
here.
okay, yeah, it's a little hard to hear.
I just wanted to make a couple of comments, and I'll just run through them all, please, so that I don't have to interrupt anybody. There was the portion of condition number 5, it's talking about the provincial drainage. I just want the council to be aware that if it's below 9 lots, there shouldn't be a requirement of provincial drainage license. It should be the responsibility of the municipality through your public works to oversee that proper drainage is done through an engineered plan. The reason I'm bringing this up is because when we did the first subdivision, the cost of the provincial drain was very, it was quite costly, and the conditions that were brought forward was to give consideration to a drainage of a 1 in 100 year water event, which, my own thinking was that was quite extreme, but the problem with that is that it's not consistent. If one should do it, we should all do it, and I think that's something else that maybe council want to give consideration to. I will directly talk with the province on that, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And number 6, Madam Mayor, where it talks about the heritage and the review on the land, I just want council to know that when we did the first subdivision, they took a look at the creek and they already did that study, so I'm kind of scratching my head on why they're asking to do it again, if it was already done. And then the last, and forgive me because I could not hear power, would be number 8, that I did submit another alignment for the road to your administrator and to also the River Planning Board. So that's all, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, and you may not have heard what we had said in the council chamber here regarding the heritage part of it. Councillor Bazarowicz mentioned that you probably had done one when you did the first subdivision, and I was the one that commented that if you had one done already, I don't really see that you need to do another one, if that one will suffice. If you had one done, it's the same creek. You're looking at either the east or the west side of it. Makes no difference to me.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, anybody else from council, any questions? I do have a couple more names on my sheet here, and I will just see, it says for information only, but I will ask if there are any comments at this point in time. And it's Lucas Gracifo. Lucas, do you have anything that you would like to add at this point in time?
It's Gracifo, but nice try.
Sorry about that.
My partner and I, we actually bought in the first subdivision, and I was just curious because I did see that there was an award for some sewage and low flow water in the RM of St. Clements, more specifically through Rebec Road. And seeing another development subdivision coming up with a public road, my thoughts are basically, is there any immediate plans for any tie-ins to that new sewage system that's going to be running down Rebec in the not too distant future?
I guess I will turn it over to our CAO to answer that question, and I'm sure that he can provide a little bit more information for you.
I'm not sure where you heard the sewage was coming down Rebec, but what it is we have approved, council has approved twin sewer force mains that are going to be coming from the south end at the, by Lockport, all the way to the lagoon, which will allow for more connections, but most of those connections are on the west side of the tracks, not on the east side of the tracks, because that's where the existing sewage lines are.
Red River Corridor.
For the Red River Corridor.
Okay, understood. So there's no immediate plans to
There-
push anything through on Ludwig at all?
On Ludwig, unless somebody comes forward themselves, developers are always able, they will be able to connect into the system, but they would have to put forward a proposal to come in and put the main lines in.
Understood. And in terms of allowing the public road, there's obviously one on the first subdivision as well. Is there any immediate plans for subdivisions on the back portions? I suppose that's up to the landowner to go through the same process that Steve's going through currently, correct?
Correct.
Understood. Yeah, that was all I had for questions and information. I appreciate you letting me sit in on the meeting.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome to stay tuned, or you can leave whenever you so choose. I have one other name here, and that's Tanya Trinkus. Tanya, did you have anything that you wanted to add, or were you just listening for info?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you. We do have one gentleman in the council chamber this evening, and I was just wondering, which application are you here for, sir?
Conditional use, 146A Road.
Okay. All right, so it's nothing to do with this subdivision. Okay. So what is the wish? We've heard from the applicant, we've heard from the planner, and what is the wish of council? I'm not sure how the wording of that resolution is. We did say that we would look at, looking at policy, and I'm not sure if that would come into play as part of the development agreement or where it would exactly fit in. Mr. Administrator?
As to the question, as to the item number 2,
Yes.
I think that's a difficult one unless council is choosing to eliminate it. If the council is asking us to come back and do the policy review, we can look at approving it with a policy review with a commitment to the developer that that item will be addressed by council as part of it. And we could even put it in as a resolution or as one of the items in the resolution.
Okay, so have you got a resolution? Now that I'm on Zoom, I can't see the resolution, so if you could look at your resolution and see if we can fit that one condition in. Go ahead, Councillor Belanger.
Could we not just remove it altogether and just have it as part of, even in a development agreement, saying that we have no problem, or the road will be given up, but we're not requiring.
Right, I just want to see what the resolution says, because I can't see it now, so.
The resolution that the applicant is addressing basically states, applicant owner enters into a development agreement with the municipality to address items including but not limited to an engineered road and drainage plan and easement plan if required. So it says if required, and so if council, as part of their approval, gives direction to make sure that we address the policy, that if they don't need to construct the road, then it would be not needed.
Okay, is that okay with the rest of council if it's worded that way?
But the land still gets given up to the municipality.
Ask the applicant if they're fine with it.
Steve, are you okay with the wording that Deepak had just repeated?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To be honest with you, I would prefer it to be removed. It's something that I would have to deal with at a later date, and if there was a majority of council that would support that, my thinking would be, Madam Mayor, is that council can deal with the policy going forward, and if they choose to make that part of a policy, then so be it. But I'm hoping to go forward without it. It hasn't been something which has been consistent in the past. So I think it could take some time for a decision to be made, and I really wish not to be upheld for it.
Go Councillor Spicer.
I understand the applicant's view, but I think then we've made our decision on the policy if we take it out. So, sorry.
Well, in order to move this forward, if we proceed with the way the resolution reads, it won't stop you from proceeding with the subdivision, but we'll have to do some work on our end here, if I remember how it was worded. Can you just read that one more time, please, Dukas?
Says if required at the end of it.
If required, yeah. So, I mean, if we find that it's not required, it just becomes a moot point, and it's not required, it's not required.
In order to give the developer some further satisfaction, council,
Hang on a sec. Mr. Hack? Mr. Hack?
I can mute him.
Oh, please do, because he keeps moving around and, okay, perfect, thank you.
As part of this, we could add one additional item as part of it, which is directing the CAO to to address the requirements for the road before the development agreement is signed. That would give some level of assurance, I'm thinking, to the developer that this gets done in a timely manner. Did you hear that, Steve?
I did, Mr. Administrator. You know, I've been waiting for us to work out when we did the first subdivision on the road that we put in, we were going to be working out a plan in order to address, you know, the investment of the road that was put in so that others cannot prosper and there would be something to return. Everybody's so busy, these things sometimes don't get done. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, it's just sometimes very difficult, so.
Completely understand.
This is different though.
Well, and I think if I can just chime in there for a minute, Steve, I think the way that first condition reads, I believe it's the first condition, it says right at the end, if required. I think that's very important because if it's not required, we will note that and you won't have to do it. It gives us a way and you a way to move the subdivision forward, and yet we can try and do our due diligence to put a policy in place that addresses the issues that you're speaking of.
I am respectful of that thinking, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, so if council is ready to proceed, I will get our administrator to read the preamble, and I think I would like you to read the rest of the conditions again, if you don't mind, please.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. First, I'll close so will we be closing the hearing?
Oh, yes, we should close our public hearing first. Yes, go ahead.
Just on that impact assessment, can we put if required there as well?
But they're not asking for an impact assessment.
No, we'll see when Deepak reads it how it says, how it's worded.
Resolve the public hearing for S21-2910 be closed and a regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horwath, Councillor Spicer seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, now we'll move into the resolution for the subdivision, and if I can ask our administrator to please read that.
Regarding subdivision application number S21-2910, proposal of Strang to subdivide river lots 228 and 229, Parish of St. Andrews. Resolved that council approve the said application subject to the following conditions. 1. The applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from the municipality stating that A, taxes on the lands to be subdivided for the current year and any arrears have been paid. B, development levies and administrative fees to be paid as per bylaw 14 of 2009. C, a grading plan be prepared to indicate positive drainage of the proposed property completed by the developer to the satisfaction of the RMSA Clements excuse me, and to ensure the proposed property does not drain onto or impede drainage from neighboring properties. And D, a digital copy of the plan of subdivision be submitted to the Arm of St. Clements. 2, applicant owner enters into a development agreement with the municipality to address items including but not limited to A, an engineered road and drainage plan and easement plan if required, and B, letter of credit to be provided to the Arm of St. Clements for drainage work and road construction. And I would recommend probably comma if required.
Right.
3, applicant owner submits written confirmation for Manitoba Hydro that easement agreements has been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to the existing and future facilities associated with the subdivision and a plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided. Registration of this agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. Contact Manitoba Hydro at hcsc@hydronb.ca or 204-360-4399 at 12-360 Portage Avenue, Winnipeg, Manitoba, R3C0G8. 4, applicant owner submits written confirmation from Shaw Communications Inc. that the easement agreement has been entered into with Shaw Communications Inc. with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision as required by the Real Property Act. Registration of this agreement will be included as a condition on the final certificate of approval. 5, applicant owner submits confirmation from the Drainage and Water Licensing Branch of Manitoba Conservation and Climate that the applicant has satisfied all requirements from that agency, which may include approval of an engineered drainage plan. For more information, please contact Darren Nicklin, Senior Water and Resource Officer at darren.nicklin@gov.mb.ca or call 204-572-7265. 6, applicant owner submits written confirmation that approval from Manitoba Sport, Culture and Heritage Historic Resource Branch has been acquired for the proposed subdivision as per the agency correspondence submitted on August 5th, 2021. For information, contact Reed Graham, Impact Assessment Archaeologist at reed.graham@gov.mb.ca or call 204-945-2118. 7, applicant owner obtain all required variances. Please note applicant to verify site areas, dimensions, or have this information submitted by the applicant's Manitoba Land Surveyor. 8, applicant owner to revise the subdivision application map for the alignment of proposed right-of-way to the satisfaction of the Arm of St. Clements.
Question?
Okay, I'll get a mover and a seconder. I have a question too. So can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Horbus seconds. Go ahead, Councillor Belanger.
Item 2B should not say, take away that period at the end and put if required there as well. Because the way I'm reading it, it says letter of credit be provided to the Arm of St. Clements for drainage work and road construction. That's it. It should say if required.
Right, and I believe that's
That's
what
what I
the
said.
packet had said.
Okay, it's just not in here, but it
Right.
is.
It's not in here, we'll be putting it.
Okay.
Okay, and the one that I have, and I believe that the applicant brought up something about the drainage, if it was under so many lots that
Under 9 lots, yeah.
the municipality could do that part of it. So I'm not sure why that one is in there. Number 5, drainage, I think it's the one about the drainage.
Submits confirmation, so to read it over again, applicant owner submits confirmation from the Drainage and Water License Branch of Manitoba Conservation and Climate that the applicant has satisfied all requirements from that agency, which may include approval of an engineered drainage plan. So what I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, what Mr. Strang said was that he already has done it, that he may not need to, and I think that's what Pavan said.
That's what Mr. Strang said, but this is a provincial requirement correspondence that I meant.
Right, but, okay, I'm gonna ask the applicant, Steve, can you just say again what you had said about the number of lots and the drainage?
Yes, Madam Mayor, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I know from the last subdivision, there was a requirement for a provincial drain license. That requirement, it upholds you to keep a 1 in 100 year water event on the land. I mean, there was a lot of discussion going on with the provincial government during that time due to the fact that the municipality has, constructed the main drain there and the properties are right alongside the drain. I kind of felt it was excessive, but nevertheless, we followed through and completed it. I learned during those discussions that the province has, within their policies, that if the subdivision is under 9 lots, that is not a requirement. So I was just questioning the fact of what I would even be listed. But I am willing, as your administrator said, Madam Mayor, to talk directly to the province to resolve the problem.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else?
So that would say if required also.
I believe it does say.
It says may.
May.
It says may, so
May
it
or
may or may not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, anything else, members of council? I have a mover, I have a seconder. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of the subdivision? Opposed? And that is carried.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Council. I appreciate the support. I look forward to working with you all in the future.
Okay, have a good evening, Steve. Go
Thank you
ahead.
very much. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So the CAO suggested that we put together a resolution, so that's going to be a separate resolution, not a part of the meeting,
Yes, I think
for
that
the
should
policy.
be as a policy,
Right,
that
thanks.
come back and deliver on a policy so that Mr. Strang and everyone can be satisfied that it gets delivered in a reasonable period of time.
Okay, so the next planning item we have is another subdivision, file number S212887 at 73040 Ashfield Road. And Colin, can you walk us, oh no, we have to enter into the public hearing first. Can I have the resolution for that, please?
Just give me 1 second so I can bring up the right screen.
Yeah.
Resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for S21-2887.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, so I'll try again. S212887. And Colin, if you can give us the report on that one, please. And that is at 73040 Ashfield Road.
Thank you much, Madam Mayor. Yes, the next item is S212887, a subdivision application located on 73040 Ashfield Road. This application, council may remember, came to council back in April 27th, a public hearing. From the meeting, council had requested the applicant revise the subdivision application map, and this has been recirculated for comments to government agencies and provincial departments. The applicant's property again is on Ashfield Road. And it is currently developed with multiple accessory buildings and a home. The applicant had previously had a 3-lot subdivision involving, which now he's split into 2 lot, another additional lot, sorry. So it's a 4-lot subdivision now. The application does meet the development plan and the zoning bylaw for minimum lot size areas. And from the circulation, we did receive comments from administration that indicated the taxes and development levies and a copy of plan subdivision being noted in the recommendations. And comments from other provincial agencies generally had no concerns. Hydro had easements. In our review, I guess, on the property, I just wanted to note to council again that we previously mentioned that in 2019, there was a previous variance granted on this property in which they had up to allowed up to 5 accessory buildings. There are now obviously since that multiple accessory buildings, as well as since the last subdivision application map, a breezeway addition done to the home as well. So we noted conditions for council in conditions number 3 and 4, where the applicant was required to bring lots 3 and 4 into compliance for all buildings on the property as condition of the subdivision. One thing I want to know, Madam Mayor, is that the applicant's land surveyor had made an error on the front yard measurement on proposed lot 1. They had indicated a measurement of 919 on the circulated application, but it was an error because that was taken a measurement from a previous SAM. We did update the latest SAM in the report, and the applicant's surveyor had provided addressing that. So that number is actually 875 on the front lot measurement for proposed lot 1. Do you want me to read the conditions?
Please do.
Should council approve this subdivision application, we have the following recommendations for council. Applicant owner submits confirmation in writing from municipality stating that 1A, taxes on the land to be subdivided for the current year and any arrears have been paid. 1B, development levies to be paid as per bylaw 14-2009. And 1C, a digital copy of the plan of subdivision be provided to the RMS St. Clement. Condition number 2, applicant owner submits written confirmation from Manitoba Hydro that easement agreements has been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision, and a plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided. Registration of the agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. Contact Manitoba Hydro at hcsc@hydro.nb.ca or 204-306-4399, 12-360 Portage Avenue, Winnipeg, Manitoba, R3C 0G8. Number 3, applicant owner obtain all required approvals to bring buildings of proposed lot 2 into compliance to the agriculture restricted zone within the RMS St. Clement zoning bylaw 5-2002. For example, approval of any building permit, approval of any required variances, and any other requirements of the Reservoir Planning District Office. Number 4, applicant owner obtain all required approvals to bring buildings on proposed lot 3 into compliance to the agriculture restricted zone within the RMS St. Clement zoning bylaw number 5-2002. For example, approval of required building permits, and approval of variances and any other requirement from our Reservoir Planning District Office. And we have conditions noted for the board in terms of subdivision requirements for land titles as well as board requirements for geo-reference drawings and stuff.
Right.
Thank you much, Andrew.
Thank you for that, Pao. And any questions for the planner from members of council? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I do have one. I noticed that there are a number of accessory buildings on both lots 2 and 3. How many are allowed on one lot in this particular zoning?
Yes, Madam Mayor, with the agricultural restricted zone, you're only allowed to have 2 accessory buildings aside from the main dwelling.
Okay, so if I'm looking at this properly, I'm just looking at proposed lot 3. I see a garage and 3 sheds. So would they be required to get a variation to have all those buildings stay if that's what they wish?
That is correct, Madam Mayor, to bring this law into compliance.
Okay, and on lot 2, it's kind of the same thing. There's a Quonset, and then there are, I guess, 2 more sheds, maybe 3, so it would be the same thing there?
Yeah, so that is correct. Either they can address that through variances, or they can remove things that are additional that they don't require.
Okay, and I think I also heard you say that from the time this originally came to council back in April, there was a breezeway added to the property on lot 2 between the dwelling and the garage. Do you know if there was a permit taken for that?
There's no permit taken for that breezeway, Madam Mayor. We haven't had any recent permit history on the property since at least in the last few years ever, so.
And a permit would be required for a breezeway? That's just something that you just can't do?
Yeah, it looks like an addition, but it's something that the applicant would want to address with us. But we noticed that from the last subdivision application. It wasn't indicated in April,
Okay.
but now it's indicated now. So.
Okay, any other questions for the planner? Mr. Huck, I see you are with us here. If you want to unmute yourself, do you have anything that you want to add to your application?
No, just that when the garage burnt down beside the house, the breezeway burned in October, Thanksgiving Day 2014, and I replaced it, and I have the permit in front of me from the original permit, I don't know if you can see it from the RM.
Well, a permit for a breezeway would not be from the RM, that would be from the Red River Planning District, if it was 2014.
No, this is my original permit to show you that the garage had a breezeway before it burnt down.
Okay.
And I only restored it.
Okay, and I think what the planner said is when your application came before us in April, it didn't show that breezeway on there. Correct me if
So
I'm...
I finally got the money to restore it. And it was the original with when the fire burnt the garage and the breezeway, but we saved the house.
Right. Okay, well, I guess in any event, it's unfortunate that you did have the fire, but even with the fire, you still are required to have a building permit to rebuild. You just can't rebuild because you had a fire. You need to have a permit. So I think what the planner said is that you would be required to get a permit or apply for a permit for that breezeway, even though it is existing.
But that is not a problem for me, but the thing is, I guess the insurance company applied for a permit to rebuild the garage, but they should have had garage and breezeway on the permit like I had originally.
Right.
When I built it.
Right. Okay, now my other question is, and I think you heard me ask the planner, you have a number of accessory buildings on lot 3 and 4, or no, I'm sorry, 2 and 3, and you're not allowed as many as you have. Are you planning to get rid of any of those buildings, or will you be coming back to us for some variations to allow the number of buildings that you have on there?
No, I am removing them. They're not really buildings. They're 2 truck caps, which are 8 feet long and 6 feet wide with posts that I put my gardening equipment in. And they will be removed. And there is one garden shed which I'm sure can stay. It's only 6 by 8. So we are cleaning up the yard.
Okay, thank you for that. Members of council, any questions for the applicant? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions from any members of council, Ed, so basically there was no one else that wanted to speak on this application, so I'm just going to check with council if they're ready to move this forward, and if they are, I will ask for the resolution for the subdivision. So, anything else we need to talk about, or shall we have the resolution? Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
I just have a question that since they have a dwelling, they put the breezeway and the garage now, is that as one building now because it all adjoins, or is that still as 3 separate? Even though you need permits for everything,
Right.
but now is it classified as
Colin,
one
can
unit?
you answer that question? The house with the breezeway and the garage, is that one dwelling unit now, or is it still classified as 2?
We'll have to look at the breezeway, but it looks like it would be an addition to the dwelling, and it would still be like under one. It'd be basically a dwelling with an accessory, like a garage with a breezeway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the breezeway and the garage would be classified as an accessory?
No, it would be one dwelling.
One
dwelling,
okay.
but we have to look at, we have to read any permit.
Right,
So I don't know
okay.
what, yeah, but
Yeah.
it could be, so we have.
Okay, so I think we're ready to move this forward, and Mr. CAO, if I could have the resolution, please.
We have to close.
Resolved.
Close the hearing first, please.
Resolve the public hearing for S 21-2887 be closed and the regular session council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Discussion. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, try again. Now we'll have the resolution for the subdivision.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Regarding subdivision application number S 21-2887, proposal of HUC to subdivide Lot 2, Plan 22802, Winnipeg Land Titles Office, WLTO, resolved that council approve the said application subject to the following conditions. Conditions 1, 2, 3, and 4 were read by the planner, Madam Mayor.
Yep. Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horvus, Councillor Bazarowicz seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, and it's been approved, so your next step is to go over to planning and they'll be able to walk you through what needs to be done in order to get the subdivision done and registered at Winnipeg LTO.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, we don't have any more subdivisions this evening, but we have a couple of conditional uses, and the first one we have is on Hay Road, but I'll have the resolution to move into the public hearing, please.
Resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for conditional use 21-2021.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. So, Pawan, if I could get you to walk through conditional use 21 of 2021, please.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Yes, the 7 p.m. hearings, first item is conditional use 2021. This application seeks to allow contractors establishing the use of general construction contractor on the subject property within the agricultural restricted zone. Council may recall this application was brought forward to Council on July 27, 2021, and has now been revised to include the property at 146 Hay Road as part of the conditional use application. The properties, both subject properties, again, it's 146 Hay Road and the adjacent property to the west, which is on roll number 227050, is currently developed with a home on one side of it, which is 146, and the other property at the adjacent property has a Quonset. The applicant is proposing to run his general construction and contracting business, in which he would store his Bobcat, mini excavator, tandem truck, and trailer related to the business. That would be on the adjacent property. And currently within their site plan, they have a gravel storage area where they would like to provide the storage area for those equipment. There's also a row of cedar trees and access to the property from Hay Road. Council, again, has requested the applicant include the other property to be included part of this application. This is what is being brought forward in our public hearing at the moment. The application itself, again, it is to store a general contractor construction business equipment. The applicant is the sole employee, and their business involves going to other properties to conduct their business. There's no business other than storage or what would be proposed by the applicant as per their letter of intent. They did provide a revised letter on August 9th to be included to their original letter was submitted with this application. The intensity of the use within the application appears not to be detrimental to people living and working in the area. However, council may want to note that the existing roads, existing uses along Hay Road are mainly residential. So therefore, the proposed use alone doesn't really align with the Planning Act considerations in section 106. Agricultural restricted zone definition states that zone provides for a combination of hobby and part-time farming operations and low-density rural and non-farm residential uses. As well as one of the policies within our current development plan under section 4.292 indicates when considering commercial and industrial uses shall be considered compatibility with the land uses and activities. Within our RRP records, there are no previous conditional use applications by council for contract established to use on Hay Road. So I just want to mention that. The last one that was applied for was a 357 Limousine Avenue, which was rejected in 2017. Comments received from our administration had indicated concerns with the application, and they had provided a letter for council. The same letter has been carried forward for this application. If council chooses to approve this application, you may want to consider a development agreement to address items such as landscaping, parking, fencing, outdoor storage, lighting, noise, and dust. Again, those have not been included as a recommendation, but if you choose to do that, that is some of the options council may want to deliberate on. An annual business license would be required from the municipality. In addition, the condition to limit the use to the applicant owner of the application has been included in council's consideration. With the applicant's residential property at 146 Hay included as part of the application, the Red River Planning District is recommending that to address any change in ownership of any of the subject properties be included that would require a new conditional use approval. Therefore, approval of this application would be tied to both properties. Madam Mayor, again, our office is not recommending approval as it's generally not consistent with 106(1) of the Planning Act. However, if council decides to choose to approve this application, we have the following recommendations for your consideration. Number one, that the conditional use approval be limited to allow contracts establishing use for a general construction contractor as proposed within this application. Any further land use changes or change of business may require a new conditional use approval. Number two, applicant owner to obtain all required permits from the Red River Planning District and the RM of St. Clements. Number three, the applicant owner to obtain an annual business license from the RM of St. Clements. And number four, this conditional use is limited to the applicant owner of this application only, and any change in ownership of one or both properties in this application would require a new conditional use application. And that is all I have for this amendment.
Thank you for that, Pawan. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Okay, the applicant is in the audience with us, I believe. Do you have anything that you would like to add to your application at this point in time? Okay, can you just give us your name for the record, please, because you are here and not on Zoom with us?
Yeah, Matt Magic.
Okay, and you have nothing that you want to add at this point in time? Any questions for the applicant from members of council? Okay, I have a couple of names on my list here, and these people, I believe, are both on Zoom with us. And the first one I have is Laura Medvin. Laura, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
No, it's, we're his neighbor, and we've been here 5 years, and he's a great person, and Mike, Ashley, and I, that's my husband and my daughter, we are all for whatever Matt wants to do, because he does everything by the book, and it looks great, and we're happy with what he's doing, so we're for it, we have no problems.
Thank you for that. Okay, I have one other name on my list here, and that is Brian Wassilishin. And Brian, what would you have to add to this? And it looks as if you are not in favor of this application.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi, sorry, I have nothing to add.
Okay, well, I do have you on here as opposed, so are you opposed to this application, or are you supporting it, or are you here for information?
For information.
For information, okay. Okay, questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
Were we not going to add something in regarding the one access that it's future use, or it's eventually going to turn into a trail access, or is that mentioned somewhere?
Well, I'm not sure if it's in any of the conditions, but we kind of had thought about that because on the east side of the property along the drain is where you used to have access, or you still have access to your garage there. And I think perhaps the thought was that that has to be for personal vehicles only, not for any of your equipment, not for any of your trucks. And Councillor Boulanger is right in saying that that area along the creek is a trail, and people have to be able to walk there without being impeded or have anything that they have to walk around or anything like that, so.
Nothing's blocking the road.
It's not a road, it's
Well, it's not even a quad trail. Everybody uses it for the 4x4s and quads and everything else, but they're not even supposed to be riding up and down there. You know, but nothing's parked in the way anyways. So.
Okay, and I noticed on one of the maps we had that the property to the south of yours, right in the corner, it looked as if there was a bunch of equipment and stuff in the corner there. Has that all been removed? Because that doesn't even look like it's on your property.
I have permission from Kent that lives up on 202.
Right.
Says that I can keep my enclosed trailer there, which has personal items in it, motorhome, snowmobile trailer, a couple machines on it. So that's what's there.
Okay, so you're not planning to move that onto the empty lot to the west of you?
No.
Okay.
After permission from the landowner, bring a load of gravel or whatever, and it's our deal with that kind of thing.
Well, and that's fine if that's the deal you had with him, but you're also still going on that municipal land to access that property. And I thought when you were here last time, we had talked about getting all that stuff off of that property if you were gonna put it on the lot to the west of yours.
There was nothing said about that.
Okay, Councillor Spicer.
Okay, so I have two clarification questions. So the way I understand this is planning is not recommending this just basically due to the RM has never passed one of these before in that zone.
No, that's incorrect. It's based
That's kind of what it says in your report.
No, that's information. It's based on what is the definition of the zoning bylaw, as well as what is the definition of agricultural restricted in the zoning bylaw for the uses, as well as based on that there hasn't been any conditional use approvals. So there isn't anything similar to this character, but it's not based on that there isn't any.
Well, no, but that's what I just said. We
But-
haven't
but-
passed one before, and that's one of your reasoning points, right?
But that's not the reason why for this particular application. I've noted an example in the previous application searches that there hasn't been anyone approved, but
Okay.
but that's not the reason for that.
Secondly, administration is recommending not approval.
That was the original application when it came in.
And I've approached administration for revised comments and then received none.
Okay. So, that one may
That one I don't think is as big a factor at this point, I don't
Okay.
know. I apologize if
No
there
problem.
weren't any revised.
or not. No, that's why I'm asking clarification, right? So I have this clear in my mind. And the third question is to the applicant, and just to be sure, so the petition that you've given us are people who are not opposed to this application, and it looks like you've got 6, 9, 12, 14, 16 signatures?
Right, I can get more if you want.
Okay, no, I just wanted to be clear that I'm reading all of this
Yeah.
correctly.
Everybody down the road.
Thank you all.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? I guess I'm having a little bit of difficulty because your business is not on the same lot that you are residing on, and in most cases, a lot of the other applications that have come before this council and councils before this, everything is confined to one property, not you're living here and your business is here. So that's a bit of a difficulty for me, and I'm really, I guess, concerned with you using your neighbor's property to store some of your stuff on when you have your lot next to you, and you're going to be using that walking trail or drainage ditch, whatever you want to call it, to get your stuff in and out of there.
Well, I don't use that to get my stuff out of there. I can go right to the west side of the property.
Okay, well, I just wonder why you would have it on your neighbor's property when you have a vacant lot next to your home. I guess that's what I'm wondering. So, any other questions or comments from council? Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
Should that not be in the resolution about leaving that trail open or that access open, or somewhere in there that it's in writing, or?
Well, I think there should be something that there's no blocking of that, and that it's for personal vehicles only. And I mean, to me, I guess a motorhome is not well, it's a personal vehicle, but it's not like your car that you're gonna park in your garage that fronts on that walking trails.
I'm just saying, as opposed to verbal, it'd be nice to have something in writing.
Yeah. What does that resolution read again, please, Deepak?
As to not blocking the drive, we can add in what there is right now is, as part of the resolution, was one condition, which is a conditional use is limited to the applicant owner of this application only, and any change in ownership on either property, one or both properties in the application would require a new conditional use application. So that guarantees that there's, that it alleviates the issues around contractors' establishment on a property without a home tied to it. And the other condition, if council wishes to add in, can be that the applicant owner can only use this property, or applicant owner to only, I would have to write up.
The access point on the, whatever side of the property would that be on?
That would be on the east.
The access point on the east side of the property must remain open to flow of, because I think someone said that eventually there's going to be a trail coming through there from our South St. Clement Center, correct?
Right.
Something of that, that it must be maintained or opened or left open or not impeded.
For pedestrian and bicycle, I guess, bicycle and
Walking trail?
walking, yeah, pedestrian and
Well, that would be
bicycle.
good because it'll cut down on the quad traffic down there, it's unbelievable, eh? That 2 to 3
I don't
in the
think
morning.
you'll ever cut down on the quad traffic everywhere where there is, like unless we're sending our bylaw out every second, but
Yeah, I know,
it's just
but,
country living.
yeah, but you don't live right on the edge of the creek, and you should see what goes on there at night. It's terrible.
I would just
I've been
suggest,
there
I would
for
just
14
suggest to
years.
phone the RCMP then.
Well, I do many times, but nothing's done, as usual. Yeah.
One second, Madam Mayor, I'm just going to verify the roll number of the property so we can be very clear.
Okay, and Councillor Strang has a comment or a question. Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
I have problems too with the 2 pieces of property, and I guess the thing was, I thought when you were here earlier, like months ago, that I thought it was going to get amalgamated, but
Well, I talked to Derek Eno, and he says just put a conditional use on both properties and you'll have no problem. That's what he told me, so that's what I did. He said rather than amalgamate the properties and lose the opportunity to sell it as a separate lot later on, when I move, he says you're gonna lose that if you amalgamate. He says, so this is what I'm telling you to do. I says, okay. And also, that's, that was informed to do that.
Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
I just have another question. In this contractor, this different zoning, is there, for a contractor's establishment, is there a different amount of vehicles or equipment he can bring home? Like, is there a
What is the
stipulation?
definition?
Yes.
What is the definition, Colin, for a contractor's establishment, please?
Sure, I can read out the definition. It's on page 2 of 5, but it's from the bottom. Means a premises where a construction contractor operates a business, where related equipment and materials may be stored, including wood construction, cabinet making, carpeting, house builders, mobile home, and ready-to-move homes construction, package home or garage construction, kitchen or bathroom renovating, general contracting, landscape contractors, heating contractors, air conditioning and refrigeration contractors, insulating contractors, painting contractors, plumbing, sheet metal contractors, roofers, drillers, and well contractors, septic tank installation, foundation contractors, excavators, stucco contractors, siding contractors, bricklaying, fencing contractors, ventilating contractors, window and door installation, road, bridge, concrete, and stucco contractors, and other like uses. For this one, again, it's general construction contractor, and they indicated what equipment they want in the letter of intent or what they want to store. So it'd be limited to that as proposed in the application.
So if it's limited to what's in the application, and I'm not exactly sure what it said now, if, you know, let's just say it's, you know, a tandem and a trailer and a bobcat, who polices if he brings more equipment in there and his business is expanding?
No, there's no expansion of the business, it's just a couple of pieces of equipment that we keep at home, that's all.
I'm not saying that you're going to.
Right.
My question was, what happens if you do? Because right now, you might be just a small business owner that, you know, that is doing whatever you're doing, but a year from now, you may be in high demand and you might hire somebody, you might end up with a couple more pieces of equipment. That was my question. What happens then? Colin, what happens then if he expands his business?
I guess you'd have to come to council to do amendment of conditional use or under a new application. And-
Okay.
And then the council could decide if it's still worth keeping or it's being more intense. So we're really gonna take the applicant's word here that they are doing it, and if we get any more complaints, then, you know,
Okay,
we have violent enforcement have to look into that.
right. Okay,
Comment?
oh, go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
I have a question, but the only way that that would happen is if there, as Colin was saying, is if there's a complaint and bylaw goes and fines.
Right.
Then it comes to us, that's
Yeah.
how I see it.
Yeah,
My question was, I understand what you're saying, or what a few have been saying about the separate lots and the business, but it is a conditional use, hence conditions. We can put whatever conditions we want on there to adhere, or to make sure that he adheres to.
right.
That's where my head is, I mean.
Well, and I think the thing is too, if he doesn't adhere to the conditions that are placed on there today, if this is approved, if bylaw, whether it's our bylaw or RRPD bylaw goes out there and sees that he's doing something he shouldn't be doing and he's in violation of his conditional use, we can always revoke it. So. Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
Is there, when we do a conditional use, is there an amount of frame time? Like whether it's something that we do with 3 years or 8 years or whatever? Is there a time frame that we could do and then they come back to
At
our
one
review or
time,
whatever?
at one time, that used to be done, but we haven't done that for a number of years. If you get your
Thank you.
conditional
It's
use,
with the property.
it's with, well, it's with the, well, not
No, until
necessarily.
it sells.
Yeah, because in this particular case, if it sells, it's done. Go ahead, Mr. Administrator.
So, thank you, Madam Mayor, thank you for giving me some time to put those words together. And what, from what I hear is saying that the applicant owner to keep access on east side for roll number 22706, so to keep trail open on municipal land and access to be used for personal vehicle uses only.
Okay, so that would be,
Councilor Spicer.
go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Sorry to be picky. To be parked within the property line? You want that at the end?
Sure, that's why I said to keep trail open on municipal land,
Well,
but
then,
to be parked within, yeah, I can put that in as well.
I mean, then it's. There.
Go ahead, Councillor Horvis.
Well, I guess how this all started is all that equipment that was on by the creek there, and in order to clean this all up, we've kind of entertained that he can move it on his lot there. Well, he can still make a living. I mean, we don't want to put this man on, he's got to feed his family and make a living, so I think this is the less of two evils, and it's a fair thing. And, you know, as long as he abides, which he says he will, we have to give him that benefit of the doubt, and hope it all works out. So, I mean, it's, I think it's a good move for us, you know, and I just, you know, I hate to see somebody put out a business or not make a living. I don't think that's fair. So I just wanted to make that point.
Okay, so do we have a amended resolution then that I can ask our administrator to read? Oh, Brett fixed it up, she said.
Okay.
Do you want me to stop share or?
No,
No, I
you don't
think-
need
I
to stop
think,
share, I think
Deepak, we'll
I
just,
have
we'll have
other
to close,
screens.
did we close the hearing though?
Yeah.
No.
Just waiting for it to reload. Okay, so conditional use. Okay, that wasn't the right one. Resolve the public hearing for conditional use 21 of 2021 be closed and regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Boulanger, Councillor Strang seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, now we have the resolution, and I think we made some changes to it, so
Whereas the applicant owner of roll numbers 227060 and 227050 of property as 146A Road and adjacent property to the west has made application for conditional use 21 of 2021 in order to allow for a contractor's establishment use general construction contractor on the subject property within the AR agricultural restricted zone. Therefore, be it resolved, conditional use application number 21 of 2021 be approved with the following conditions. The conditional use approval will be limited to allow a contractor's establishment used for a general construction contractor as proposed within the application. Any further land use changes or changes of business may require a new conditional use approval. Applicant owner to obtain all required permits from Red River Planning District and the Arm of St. Clements. Applicant owner to obtain an annual business license for the Arm of St. Clements. The conditional use is limited to the applicant owner of this application only, and any change in ownership or of one or both properties in this application will require a new conditional use application. 5, applicant owner to keep access to east side of road number 227060 to keep trail open on municipal land and access to be used for personal vehicle use only to be parked within the property line.
can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Horwath seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, I believe we have a couple of variations that we have to go through next. So the first one is variation order 76 of 2021, and if I could have a resolution to move into the variation order hearings.
Resolve the regular meeting of the adjourn of the public hearing be open for variation 76 of 2021.
Okay, can I have a mover, please?
Thank you.
Councillor Spicer, second please. Councillor Sutherland. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, so we're at variation order number 76 of 2021, and if you could please go through that one for us, Colin.
Thank you much, Madam Mayor. Yes, the next item is variation 76, 2021, 6255 Henderson Highway. This application is to reduce the minimum side yard for an existing 256 square feet accessory building, a building separation between existing home and existing 256 square feet accessory building, and increase the total number of accessory buildings on the subject property to 6. The subject property located on the east side of Henderson Highway is currently developed with a home, as well as an existing gazebo, which they are applying variances for 12 inches away or 1 foot away from the south property line, as well as a building separation of 3 foot 9 inches or 45 inches away from the home, clear of all projections. The applicant also has an existing shipping container. They are proposing a tent, two tents on the property, 12 by 20, as well as a 10 by 10 shed, as well as they have an existing 8 by 4 shed. So they're increasing the total number of buildings from 2 to 6. The subject property, again, is located in the agricultural, restricted, and rural residential zone. Majority of the structures would be located within the RR zone, where there's a minimum requirement of 2 accessory buildings. Should be noted that the total square footage of all buildings would be less than 1,200 square feet, and I believe it's 1,180 square feet of total combined area, where the requirement in the rural residential zone is 1,280 square feet. This came to our attention as a result of the applicant had built this gazebo, and here's some images that they provided. They built it not realizing that they require a permit, and so now they're seeking council's approval to allow this building to remain. as well as seeking council's permission to increase the number of accessory buildings. And here are some images the applicant presented for the accessory buildings, for this particular accessory building, which is a gazebo, a covered gazebo with a deck. That is all I have for this one, Madam Mayor. Should council approve this application, we recommend the following conditions. This variance is limited to a minimum side yard of 1 foot measured from east for 256 square foot accessory building, gazebo, and hot tub, and a minimum building separation of 3 foot 9 inches, clear of all projections between the existing home and 256 square foot accessory building, gazebo, and hot tub, as well as to increase the total number of accessory buildings to 6 in total on the subject property as presented in this application. Any further changes, replacement, or additions would require a new variance approval. Apple owner would obtain all required permits from the Red River Planning District. This would include permits for the gazebo and any proposed building that they need permits for. And number 3, the Apple owner, so the use of the all proposed accessory buildings is for personal use only and not to be used as habitable space or used for any business-related purposes. I do want to mention that the applicant was previously granted a conditional use in the past, which was limited to have a tandem truck on their property as well as use their home for that use under home industry in the past. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions to the planner on this application? I do have one. This looks a little bit different to me. If I look at the picture on the right-hand side, where there's the black line that says, and then it says property line with an arrow, and then on the other side it says 12 inches. Is that telling me that this black line is the property line and the fence is actually encroaching on the neighbor's property?
Yes, about 13 inches.
No, I'm not, I'm sorry,
Mr. spoken to him, he's good with that.
Mr. Wilcox, I wasn't asking you, I was asking the planner, so let's try this again. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor. Yes, in discussion with the applicant, it appears that the fence is on the over the property line, and this was determined by the applicant.
Okay.
So it is, and he can probably address further on as well.
Okay, now we're just speaking with the planner, so Councillor Horvitz, you have another question?
How big is the lot, the property?
Very good question. That is approximately 4.4 acres, and it extends, and I'll just go back to the drawing. I believe this one extends.
Do you have the width or?
The width,
Less than 100 feet.
Oh, it's a long.
yeah,
It's long and-
it does go to the railway tracks all the way in the back.
Okay.
And majority of the structures would be within the 700 feet mark, which is a rural residential zone, and then the back part of the property after 700 feet is in the agricultural restriction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Colin, one more question. The aerial that we have, it shows nothing on that property, so is this an older aerial?
Yes, it is. They were granted a home probably within the last 3 years. Here, I can get you a date, but yeah, it is a little bit
Okay.
older aerial.
Okay, any other questions to the planner? Okay, Mr. Wilcox, I know that you spoke on that, but do you have anything else that you want to add to your application at this point in time?
First, sorry for speaking out of turn.
That's okay.
And I didn't intentionally, at the beginning, was building it was going to be just a deck, which was below 2 feet, and according to the pamphlet, I didn't need a permit for it. And then I was going to put one of those metal gazebos on it eventually, which now I find out you need a permit for that also. But then I had a bunch of extra lumber, and my builder suggested putting a roof on it, just a covered deck, he said, just like putting pergola on. But once the roof was on, I'm thinking, yeah, that looks like a building to me, so that's why I called Colin, and here we are. So.
Okay, I guess, I don't know, any members of council have questions for the applicant? I guess I'm gonna start off, like you're allowed 2 accessory buildings, you're asking for 6. Are all those buildings necessary? Like you have a 10 by 10 proposed shed, you have I think it's 4 by 8 existing shed, like, are all those buildings required? Like your lot is long and narrow, you have a shipping container on there already that's 8 by 40. You have a garage tent of 1 or 2 that are proposed, like, I don't know, it just seems like a lot of accessory buildings for one property.
Well, it looks like that on the picture. It doesn't really, the property is much bigger than it looks. But shipping container, just personal storage. The little shed, the 4x8 was existing, like a little garden shed. Can't put any lawnmowers or anything in it. The garage tent, one was going to be for my riding lawnmower and ATV and stuff like that. The other garage tent is just to park with my boat in. The other 10 by 10 was, I might build like a wood shed, but it looks more than it's not really like that because the property's a lot bigger than, and they're all spread out. And I'm like 300 feet deep down in the property. And it's all treed and people can't even see that stuff back there, so.
Well, I guess that's not really answering the question. You know, the question is, do you need 6 accessory buildings when you're only allowed 2?
Well, like yes, other than the 10 by 10, that's kind of a future thing, like a wood shed I was gonna build, but.
Okay, so it's not existing at the moment?
No. The only thing existing is that shipping container and that little tiny 4x8 shed that was already on there, and then the gazebo I built. So I want to add the 2 tents, and the 10 by 10 shed is just kind of a thought for the future.
Why not, Misha?
Okay, and are you still, is your conditional use still active that you're allowed a tandem truck on that property?
It's not a tent, it's just a pickup truck with a trailer. But no, that my business is pretty well shut down and it's for sale right now. So that'll be, I'm hoping by next summer that'll be out of there as well.
Okay, any other questions to the applicant from members of council? Okay, I do have one other person who wishes to speak on this application, and that is Mr. Romano. And I'm going to ask Mr. Romano if he wants to state his concerns. And also, I believe we did have a written submission from Mr. Romano. So I'll ask him if he wants to speak, and then we can read his written submission into the record. So. Mr. Romano, did you have anything that you wanted to say on this application?
I've asked him to unmute several times. There.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, so your letter that you sent in will suffice? You had nothing more that you wanted to add to this application or to your concerns that you have with this application?
Only if I have to rebuttal some of his claims.
Well, I'm not going to be rebutting anything. I'm asking you right now what your concerns are. The applicant has stated what he wants on that property. And I'm sure that you heard that. Now, if you have any concerns, now would be the time to speak up on them.
I said it all in my letter.
Okay, so what I'm going to ask then for our administration to read the letter of your letter of complaint into the record, please.
Thank you.
Letter from Chris Romano, 6279 Henderson Highway, and the position is opposed. I oppose the variance for a few reasons. Why wasn't the variance handled when the building permit was issued, if one was issued? A 256 building would have had plans and description of the site. Now wanting to have up to 6 buildings on the lot seems like more for a commercial use. This is a rural residential area, and it seems like it's excessive amount of buildings. I met with the applicant when he was asking for the variance to park business truck on property. I took his word but now there is a covered trailer and a van and with a company name. I understand there is not supposed to be no construction on the property except to build a house. When he leaves pulling the trailer with ladders on the top, create a very loud noise. That property and the next two north of it have anywhere from 10 and up construction equipment, including bobcats, front-end loaders, covered and uncovered trailers, and now semi-trailers. All of these belong to companies that are not part of the construction of the house. I have been complaining about this for the past few years, but they're still allowed to be there. This creates a lot of noise and dust, so much that it is hard to have windows open with the dust and early morning noise. There are far too many trailers, etc. on this property, and this problem should be corrected.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Romano, do you have anything that you want to add after hearing the letter that you submitted?
No, I think that's about it. Just that there's so much construction equipment that you must well be living in a different zone. Like there's an excessive amount of equipment and noise and dust of it all. They're unloading equipment at 7 to 8 in the morning, whether it's shingles, sidings, etc. So that's my concerns.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions from council to the applicant? Is council ready to deal with this application? Okay, I guess we will close it. Go ahead, Councilor Horvath, sorry.
When he says that they're making noise and unloading, is that from his neighbor, or is he talking about the other people around?
Mr. Romano, the question was asked, when you talk about unloading early in the morning or loading early in the morning, is this from your neighbor next door, Mr. Wilcox, or is that from other neighbors in the area?
The applicant's noise comes from his ladders on top of his trailer. And directly south of me, person was unloading, loading, and then the guy further east of the property has been, the other day for 20-25 minutes, a big Dr. Hook truck was backing up with a semi-trailer onto the property.
Yeah, well, I guess those are the neighboring properties, and that's not the ones that we're dealing with tonight. We're dealing with Mr. Wilcox's property, so
okay.
If his...
My point is that he's, I understand you can't have any construction equipment on your property. And he lied to me about just parking a truck when I met him at the meeting a couple of years ago. And now, what are these other buildings that he's putting up? It sounds like getting to be a commercial enterprise.
Okay, I will, is there somebody else that had a comment there?
No, and the other problem is it sounds like you're asking for a variance on existing properties. Why is that being held now? It's an empty lot, and shouldn't that have happened with a building permit, the variances then?
Well, if the building permit was taken for the house and it fit into all the building requirements, no, a variation would not have been required. The variation is coming forward now because he's asking for a number of accessory buildings in excess of what is normally allowed.
Okay, I just must read this wrong because it says reduce required silt side from 10 feet to there for an existing 256 accessory building. That's number one on the hearing list. For an existing 250 square foot lot.
Okay, that is for the covered gazebo that is on the property.
Okay, so there was no building permit required for that or variance for that? He's doing variance now after he's built it.
Yes.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
But
I have not so much problem as the request for an excess buildings. I'm just worried that they're not going to be for private use, but more of business.
Okay, well, I guess the only thing that I can say is if council does approve this evening and you still feel that there is business being done from the property and some of these other tents, or there's 2 proposed tents and the shipping container, you would have to get a hold of the Red River Planning and they would send bylaw out to see exactly what was happening on the property.
Okay, so really, I guess I have no choice, but you're gonna accept there's building, numerous buildings on it. I don't even know what size they are. But
Well, there
the whole
are,
neighborhood is turning to shit with all of, excuse the language, with all the construction vehicles and noise and ladders and dust and everything.
okay, I have a couple, right. I have a couple of counselors that have a couple of comments here, and I think we understand what your concerns are, and we'll see where this application goes. So, first of all, Councillor Strang, go ahead, and then Councillor Boulanger, or vice versa.
I think Councillor Boulanger is going to ask the same thing as me. so-
Okay.
Are we, I know it's not part of the project here, but the fence issue that came up, what's happening if you're planning with the fence being on someone else's
We have a
property?
picture.
Well, I know, and that's like that
It's in
picture.
their package, yeah.
Yeah, that picture got me with the
Property line.
yeah, with the gazebo being over the property line. How is that going to be corrected? I believe Mr. Wilcox said that he spoke to his neighbor and his neighbor said it was okay, but does he have to do anything for it to be in compliance for, as far as RRPD is concerned?
Madam Mayor, that's a separate issue, so it's up to, it's not dealing with the building, but if he needs to, because fences don't require any permits. It's agreed between neighbors.
Okay.
So, if his neighbor does make a complaint about the fence, then we would have to enforce that.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Administrator.
Madam Mayor, if the fence is on the other person's property, then the fence is considered the other property's owner's fence.
There you go.
And that's basically the way it's applied.
Okay, thank you
Just
for
for
that.
clarity,
Go
the
ahead.
gazebo is not over the property.
It doesn't
No.
appear that way. It appears that it's just the fence that is over the property line. Is that correct, Mr. Wilcox?
That's correct. So now it's a jointly owned fence by my neighbor and myself.
Okay. Okay, if council is ready to deal with this application, I will ask for the resolution to close this public hearing.
Resolved, the public hearing for variation order 76 of 2021 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
And I move it, please, Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Spicer seconds, discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, we have a resolution then to deal with this application. I guess I will say that I'm still not so sure that 6 accessory buildings on one property should be allowed, even though one of them is proposed. I have a little difficulty with that, so anyways, go ahead, Councillor Strang.
Wouldn't somebody come to us, like, as they're going to be building them with their plans, not just put proposed? Because someone could fill up their lot with 10 of them and that would just pay for whatever and then down the road. So what is the restriction on getting, for them to be built? So we pass it today?
One of the, it's only, I think, the 10 by 10. Oh no, the 2 garage tents and the proposed 10 by 10 are all not existing, they're all proposed. So, Mr. Planner, for those 12 by 20 garage tents, do they require building permits?
Anything over 120 square feet requires a building permit. So the 12 by 20 would require it. The 10 by 10 shed would not.
Okay.
And so the intent here, Madam Mayor, is that they have a shipping container, which I believe they have a permit for. They have an existing 8 by 4 shed, which they don't need a permit for. So that's 2 that they have existing.
Right.
And then they built this over the summer, this covered gazebo hot tub building, which is 250, which requires a permit. So that's what this came to be. They are adding these additional buildings as part of the variance application, and it would be wise to include it, to ask council's permission now, rather than coming with under a separate application, which would have been more cost than another hearing. But it's council's wish to see if they want to allow up to 6, or do you just want him to limit what he has existing and not all the more proposed buildings?
Councillor Horvis and then Councillor Strange.
So, he didn't really, he had a permit for the container. The 10 by 10, he didn't need a permit for. So, or, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
8 by
4.
8 by 4, he
Yeah.
didn't need one.
Yeah.
So when he realized that the gazebo wasn't right, he called you, right?
He called us,
And
he
and
came to each
knew,
signature.
yeah, he knew he needed it, so he didn't do anything wrong. He was just trying to be ahead of it. So he's being, so all he's looking for is the gazebo and the 2 tents.
3.
And 10 by 10.
Well, the 10 by 10, does he need a permit for the 10 by 10?
No,
Is
but
it
he needs
accessory
approval for variation for the number of.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not the size, it's the number of accessory buildings on there that's.
So could he get away without having the 10 by 10?
I'm not sure. Would you consider not putting the 10 by 10 and having only 5 accessory buildings?
Absolutely. That was just gonna be a woodshed or kind of, it was just, Colin said to add it, if I was gonna do it in the future, add it now, just so I don't have to go through another variance. So it was only an optional thing that I was gonna do, so I don't have to build that. So basically, we're just adding 2 tents.
Yes. Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
I guess my question before was, so we approve this, is there a time frame? I can't even talk, that it has to be done, is it the 12 months?
It is the 12 months. I believe that is right at the end of the resolution. Go ahead, Councillor Belanger.
I mean, I'm looking at this and I just see buildings everywhere. I mean, would it, like, and I don't know what these buildings he's proposing costs. I'm not against him having more space. Would it not make sense to just build and ask for permission or a variance if needed, a 30 by 40 huge shed and just, like, it's just mishmash all over? I'm
Yeah, like
wondering if the applicant would be moving in that direction or consider it.
I'm going to ask Mr. Wilcox, like you're proposing to have 2 garage tents, and you did mention what you wanted each of them for. Would it not make more sense to you to have a 24 by 40, one building and put everything into, or is that not logical?
Well, that's logical, but it's, the cost in that would be huge compared to these $500 tent packages that I purchased. So that's the thing, that's why people use those tent packages, because they're cheap enough and you don't have to put a foundation under them. They're just some gravel and they're up. It's hidden in the bush and.
Well, I don't know if that is absolutely correct, that you can just put gravel. I know we put one in our yard and we had to put the cement piles almost so it would be secured. Pawan, can you explain like these 10 by 12 or 20 by 12 garage tents?
I don't know what foundation.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Administrator.
The 20 by 12 garage tents will have to adhere to the building code, and the building code may require you to secure them appropriately and have a proper foundation. Could be anything from groundhogs to piles, I don't know. So it's not as simple as just buying one of those tent packages and putting it on the ground.
Go ahead, Mr. Wilcox.
The tent packages come with these screws that you put, there's like 10 or 12 screws that go into the ground to secure it. So when I take the permit out for them, which they're being processed right now, if this variance goes through, they'll tell me what I need and then I'll have to do that. I don't really want to put a big, huge building up because then I'd have to clear land or some trees out of the way, and I like the trees the way they are.
Well,
These tents are kind of hidden in the trees.
Well, as long as you're aware that it might not be as simple as you think it is, like a matter of, putting some gravel down and putting your tent, like you may have to do a little bit of extra work to have those put on your property. I know we did, so.
Yeah, they'll need to whoever the vote is required.
Okay, anybody else have anything?
Excuse me, I must have missed what he plans to store in this big buildings.
Mr. Romano, just one moment here. I think one of them was a boat in one and some ATV maybe, or a quad in the other. Mr. Wilcox, if you could just let us know again what is going into each of these proposed tents.
Yeah, I have an 18 and a half foot fishing boat, which is gonna take up the whole shed. I won't even be able to park any lawnmower, like a riding mower in there with it. The other one is just more of a garden shed for my ATV, riding mower, things like that.
How about your construction equipment?
All that construction equipment, that's my neighbor I think you're talking about.
No, you got a truck with your...
Well, excuse me,
Sorry.
excuse me,
Don't you have a
gentlemen.
trailer, covered trailer?
Mr. Romano, you are to address council and the mayor, but you are not to talk directly with the applicant, so if you could please abide by those rules.
Okay, now Mr. Wilcox is saying that you may be referring to his neighbor's trailer. What was the concern, Mr. Romano?
I don't believe, I believe he has a trailer, covered trailer, and a van with your advertisement of your company on it, on your property, not the neighbor.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Wilcox.
Yeah, there is a truck that, when I purchased the company, that wasn't supposed to come with the company. It was just my truck and the trailer. And then the guy had this cube van. I've since pulled it over there, which is for sale, so it's just there temporarily. And there's two covered trailers. One is my own personal covered trailer, and the other one is the company one, which is also for sale, so that won't be there very long either. But there's no other construction equipment or anything there. And just to backtrack a bit with regards to the noise of the ladders, that was when it was in operation at 7 in the morning when they left. You might, when they're driving down the driveway, and then they'd come back at around dinner time, and that hasn't happened since early June. So, and that won't be happening anymore because it's basically shut down.
So basically, the business that you were doing carrying on from this property is pretty much shut down, and you have most of the equipment for sale now, the vehicles and that?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. Only my personal stuff will be back there, hopefully by the spring.
Okay. Okay,
Resolution. We've closed the public hearing, yes we have. So it's the resolution for the variance.
Okay.
So are you down to 5 accessory structures, I think now, as opposed to 6?
I believe that we are. I think Mr. Wilcox agreed that the 10 by 10 proposed shed, it can be deleted, and we'll go with 5 accessory buildings instead of 6?
Sure.
Okay.
So, Madam Mayor,
Yes?
will we be addressing, just so that's clear in the resolution, which building we are removing as a 10 by 10? Is that good?
Okay, yeah, we could.
Just to clarify and not, no confusion.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll see what Mr. Administrator comes up with here.
Did you update it?
I changed to 5.
Okay.
Excuse me, I have to leave now, so I just want to thank the council and the mayor. And I think everything that I had questioned is clarified now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Romano, and you have a good evening.
You too, thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Please know what's going on.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 2550 and located at 6255 Henderson Highway has made application for variation order number 76 of 2021 from side yard for a 256 square foot accessory building gazebo with hot tub, 10-foot minimum within the RR zone portion of the subject property to side yard of 256 square foot accessory building of 1 foot minimum from the south property line to the eaves of the existing 256 square foot accessory building, gazebo with hot tub. From building separation from main building home to a 256 square accessory building, gazebo and hot tub, 10-foot minimum clear of all projections. To a building separation from main building home to a 256 accessory building, gazebo and hot tub, 3 foot 9 inches minimum between eaves of the existing home and a 256 square foot accessory building, gazebo and hot tub. From a total number of all accessory buildings allowed on the subject property, 2 maximum, to a total number of accessory buildings allowed on the subject property, 5 maximum. Purpose to reduce the minimum required side yard for an existing 256 square foot accessory building, a building separation between the existing home and existing 250 square foot accessory building, and increase the total number of accessory buildings on the subject property to 5 maximum in total. Therefore, be it resolved, order number 76 of 2021 be approved with the following conditions. The variation is limited to a minimum side yard of 1 foot, south side yard measured from eaves of the 256 square foot accessory building, gazebo, hot tub, and a minimum building separation of 3 feet 9 inches clear of all projections between existing home and the 256 square foot accessory building, gazebo, hot tub, as well as to increase the total number of accessory buildings to 5 in total on the subject property as presented in this application. Any further changes, replacement, or additions would require new variance approval. Applicant order obtain all required permits from the Red River Planning District. The use of all proposed accessory buildings is for personal use only and not to be used as habitable space or used for any business-related purposes. Did you want something to address the 10 foot by 10, or 5 buildings is enough?
Five buildings excluding 10, excluding 10 by 10 shed in the application, or does that work?
Sure, 5 buildings including the 10 by 10 on the subject property.
Yeah.
We'll put that there. The use of all proposed accessory buildings, I've said that already. The order shall expire and not acted upon within 12 months of the date of making.
Vanessa, mover please, Councillor Strang, Councillor Spicer seconds, discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Thank you very much for your patience. I know you've been waiting a long time to have your application heard, and I apologize. We were just a little slow here this evening, but I thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye for now. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, one more variation.
It's not much left there.
3 things.
3 things, yeah, the 3 worst ones. Anyways, can I have a resolution to go into the variation board, please? That would be you.
Sorry, I was just thinking about in camera.
How many times are we gonna make you say 256?
I was having a lot of trouble with that here. It's getting late. So this is resolve the regular meeting be adjourned at the meeting and the public hearing to be open for variation order 93 of 2021.
Mover, please, Councillor Strang, second Councillor Horbis. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. And if you could just walk us through this one, please.
Madam Mayor, this, the last variance application, variation 93, 2021. It's located on 785 Ferry Road. This application is to reduce the minimum site width requirement of 100 feet to 90 feet for proposed lot 1 and 8 of the conditionally approved subdivision application S202869. This is the actual final condition of the applicant in order to complete all conditions. It's condition number 6 of the conditional approval letter, which was sent out on March 22nd, 2021. To satisfy the condition, we're seeking council's approval of the variance. Should council approve this variance application, we recommend the following. The variance is approval for the site width minimums as presented in this application. Any further changes will require new variance approval. That is all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for that. Any questions to the planner? And I know that the applicant is not here this evening, and as the planner said, this is the last condition of the approval for the subdivision. So if council is ready to proceed, there are no questions for the planner or no discussion, I will ask our CAO to bring us out of our variation order, and we can do the resolution when we finish our planning hearings.
That new paved road looks amazing.
I haven't seen it
That's the
paved.
way.
It's beautiful.
Resolve the public hearings for variation order number 93 of 2021 be closed at the regular session of council be reconvened.
Mover, please. Councillor Borges, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and carried. Okay, so I think we can move ahead with the resolution for this variation.
Dave?
So whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 43162 legally describes as lot 7 plan 65929 and located at 785 Ferry Road has made an application for variation order number 93 of 2021 from site width 100 feet to site width minimum 90 feet proposed lot 1, from site width 100 feet to site width minimum 90 feet proposed lot 2. Purpose: the applicant is requesting council's approval to reduce the minimum site width of proposed lots 1 and 8 within the RA suburban residential zone. The requested variances in this application are part of the conditions within the conditionally approved subdivision application S20 of 2869. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order number 93 of 2021 be approved with the following conditions. The variation is for the approval of site width minimums as presented in the application. Any further changes will require new variance approval. This order shall expire if not acted upon within 12 months of the date of making.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, second. Councillor Borges. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, I don't believe that we have any other planning items that we have to deal with tonight. So Colin, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I know it was a little bit longer than you probably wanted it to be, but that's how it sometimes goes. So thank you for that.
What were you gonna say?
I would have waited a bit longer to pave it.
I said the same thing when I drove by. Where would you wait till all the houses?
Yeah.
We'll have to stop the recording and shut the meeting down.
Those
Do
are
a conversion.
wow.
Yeah.
We take all day.
They could put some houses on the other side.
Yeah.
Johnny said the same thing.
Okay, so we go into, if we went into in camera, if I'm thinking about the 3 items that I have here, I'm just wondering what I can let Brett go as well. And then I can just,
Yeah, we're gonna go back in camera, but Deepak's just looking at the items that are left, so we might let you off the hook. Just let him stop it. Oh, right.
okay, so let me put it in camera. Or let council put it in camera, let me recommend.
Thanks, Colin.
Yeah, you can go up the back here if you want.
For sure.
I'm pretty sure your vehicle's back there.
Thank you so much.
Okay, have a good rest of your week. Take care, yeah.
Resolved, council recess the regular meeting and go into in camera to discuss legal and personnel issues, and further be it resolved that all matters discussed are to remain confidential as per section 83(1)(d) of the Municipal Act.
Mover, please. Councillor Spicer, Councillor Vassarowicz seconds. All those in favor, opposed, and carried. Let's take 2 minutes because somehow we lost a couple of gentlemen, and Brett's going to stop the recording.
Off?